Hey guys, it's Josh here on the OpenMic podcast, and today we have a very special guest. We have Symone James, and today we're going to be talking about her companies that she started and a little bit about the culture behind it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to get into is talk about a little bit of a brief overview of what it is that you do. I know that you have two different businesses that you manage. You have Heyface Kitchen, which makes different kinds of fusion tacos, and then you have Heyfe & Co., which is a digital marketing platform. So without further ado, could you tell us a little bit about that?
So Hefe's Kitchen started in the pandemic, actually. I was always good at cooking, but I decided to do it. I was actually supposed to open a clothing line before that. Started cooking in the pandemic. People started gravitating towards me. I started off with birria tacos, and from there, yeah, it's been crazy. With Hefe & Co., that started really my passion for marketing. And I learned the struggles of marketing when I started Hefe's Kitchen. So
Yeah, it's definitely hard for people like once regardless of the level of talent that they have, in order to have a place where they can showcase that.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that businesses such as yours are very important when getting those people onto the platforms that they need and getting the recognition that they truly deserve.
yes.
And you brought up something interesting. You said that Hefe's Kitchen, with the when you begin to start making these different kinds of dishes, was during the pandemic. That was definitely a time where they definitely couldn't go out as much, so
Yes.
they were stuck to what can I do to harness kind of my own level of creativity. Do you feel like that kind of made you a bit more of a productive person in that sense, or do you think that it was kind of like that thing of where, oh, I'm here, I'm in this space, I kind of feel like there's something I need to do here? How did that make you feel, kind of being in that space?
It was hard because I'm a very creative person. So from anything from clothing to food, I love being creative. I think that's what kind of fused the passion. So it was actually more of I had the time to actually try out the recipe. The recipe was just supposed to be for my family. Tried it out, sold it to someone, and then it was just a word of mouth type of thing.
Okay, yeah. So you discussed this thing about you getting into this and kind of figuring out, hey, this is something that I kind of like doing and something I'm passionate about. Is there any moment where you feel like you discovered that you first had a passion for like cooking or anything like within the culinary arts?
I would say that's when I realized I was passionate
Okay.
about it because I've been cooking since I was 8,
Oh man,
and I
you go
have
back.
7 siblings. So
That's a lot of people to eat.
I
So
never thought about I was like passionate for cooking because it was just a hobby.
do you think kind of being in that place where you kind of had to just be with yourself and, get to that place of discovery is kind of what was necessary in order to break through to that point?
Yes, it opened a lot of doors, and I realized like a lot of things from different perspectives.
Oh, okay. So first thing that I wanted to like kind of address like after that is like, so fusion tacos. It's a very interesting kind of food. It has the word fuse in it. There's different things that are involved in it. But something that I did want to ask you is like, is there anything that gravitated you towards that specific dish?
Growing up, I grew up around a lot of Hispanics. Most of my friends were Hispanics as well, so I always had a love for Hispanic food. So if it's a taco, I'm going to try it. So I would say from growing up and just coming here to Augusta and trying different places, I'm like, this isn't authentic. And I know I can't make it authentic, but I can do, the tips and tricks that I learned, like growing up.
Okay, so like what are some of the different kinds of like fusion tacos that you have?
So I started off with the birria, of course. I have a Nashville hot chicken taco. I have a bang bang shrimp taco on a
Oh, that
wonton
sounds good.
shell. I have a a shrimp and jerk chicken taco on a plantain shell, and I infuse that with rice and peas as well. So any culture, I can pretty much make a taco from.
Okay.
From it.
Well, yeah, I mean, even with that, I see there's definitely an appreciation for different kinds of cultures with it, and then the fact that they can all kind of occupy the same space, occupy the
Yes.
same dish. It almost seems very symbolic of the things that like we kind of hope for in society. There's this diversity of like different cultures and traditions amongst people, and it's putting them in the same space isn't a way of diminishing the relevance or significance of any of them in particular, but it almost develops this kind of harmony.
Yeah.
So like it's cool to see that happens in a dish form, and yeah, I mean that's just amazing. So like speaking of things just being very diverse, coming together like this colorful dish that you have here, it almost seems like it speaks true to kind of like who you are as a person. It's
Yes.
like you're a very multi-hyphenated person. So like what is it like I could ask with that about like when it comes to balancing that, being good at a bunch of different things, feeling like your passions come from a lot of different directions and managing that.
It's hard. Honestly, it's very hard.
I could imagine, yeah.
Because it's like I'll take a week where it's like, okay, I'm trying out different recipes. But in between, I have to make content for my agency
Yeah.
or for a client. So I'm creative on the digital side. But sometimes I need those days in the kitchen because both businesses can really come as inspiration. That's what I learned a lot.
Oh, okay. So like it seems like it was like the food and the passion of making these dishes came first, and then it came the agency. Why did that kind of start? Did it come from this thing of sort of wanting to give back or a thing of growth? Like what inspired you to start it with the agency?
It was definitely growth and giving back because it's crazy. When I started Hefe's Kitchen, a lot of small businesses would actually like buy from me as well. But I've learned with it being like that one person army doing this, and this, the marketing was the hardest part. So I'm like, what do I do? But I had to figure it out because at the time, I was probably only making like $700 a week, and all my money would go on the groceries. And I was like, okay, as long as my marketing is good, I know at least I'll get one order today. So the struggles of doing the marketing for the business, along with cooking, inventory, I was like, it has to be an easier way.
So there's a lot of different cooking businesses out there, a lot of people that get involved in the culinary arts, and it's a very intimate thing. You're making something that comes from you, it comes from your cultures, your traditions, your experiences, and you're essentially sharing it with the world so that they can ingest that both literally and then emotionally in a way. So like when it comes to that, I know that there's this huge aspect of everybody wants to get that representation that they feel that their cultures, their backgrounds deserve. And they'll do a lot of making the food, but then underestimate the power of the marketing or the image quality of things. What comes to mind is I'll have some restaurant that I go to, they make amazing food, but then their representation isn't very well. Like on the menu, you'll see pictures of food of like people just kind of taking pictures randomly on like an old phone or something like that. But like with that, the question that it brings to mind for me to like kind of ask for you is like, what do you believe is the importance of marketing in a space such as that?
I honestly feel like marketing is the powerhouse.
Okay.
You can have as many sales as you want, but your marketing, that's how you're going to reach different people. That's how people are going to know you. My biggest example of marketing is Fashion Nova. They will send you 12 texts a day. And then you have people who are, scared to post their business every day. And it's like, no, you have to keep pushing. But I think marketing is like the powerhouse. I think nothing else tops marketing.
Do you think that there's certain things, like 2 or 3 things that come to mind that people should keep in mind when addressing their marketing, things that you think are important?
Your brand reputation, your brand awareness, because how would we know who you are if we're not aware of it? And I would say consistency with it. I see a lot of business pages lacking consistency.
Do you think that there's a component of representing yourself as well when it comes to the brand? Because some people, you have people on the side of the spectrum that say it should just be my brand. Then you have people on the other side that say it should be more centered around me, but the things that I do. As far as the culinary arts go and just dealing with making dishes and food, where on the spectrum do you think that kind of follows into?
I would say people need to know you as well, because people like to feel really personal with a brand. Like me, I've seen brands go from selling T-shirts out the trunk, then on the runway, and then it's like, oh my God, I feel like I was a part of the journey.
Yeah.
So people love like a community. They want to know who you are, and they want to know you personally as far as like your values, who you stand for. Because you got to think, a lot of brands, if say someone does something, goes to jail or something like that, oh, well, I'm not buying from them anymore. So I think you basically being in the brand as well, that's very important.
Yeah, and there's definitely be instances of like where people in the industry of food, like they make great food, but then something comes out on them, and it's like I don't like the person anymore. So it's like it's kind of hard to like the food. You know, I'm putting that in my body, and food is a very intimate piece of like who a person is and stuff like that. I feel, but along with kind of the struggles of trying to understand the whole marketing game and the importance of it to people who are more so in the artistry of the food itself. There's also those struggles as far as entrepreneurs and just starting businesses in general or keeping them afloat. What do you think are some of the struggles that are kind of important to be aware of as an entrepreneur?
Every day is not going to be a good day at all. My biggest thing when I was doing Hefe's Kitchen was at least if I got one sale today, I'm okay. Don't focus on the money at all, because you're not going to be profitable. And also use as many resources as you can. I find that's very important, having the right resources. It helps, the supporters, the reviews, collabing with other businesses. I think that's very important.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and like now that you bring that up, something that comes to mind for me, I know you might know a bit more about this than I do, but you have these different kinds of establishments. They deal with food. You have the franchises, and then you just have people who it's more individualized or more personable. Do you favor one style over the other, as far as like people just like having a business give you the food and then having the individual? Like, which one do you favor?
I'd rather individual any day.
Okay.
Than anything like mass produced. You're gonna know how much time was put into it. Like, for example, me, I can tell if I go somewhere if the wings were frozen or not.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to patronize more like the smaller businesses, the mom and pop shops, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, and it's like I do see the reason in that, because it's like food is a very personable thing, and it's like if you don't have a personality to attach it to, it's kind of hard to connect to it in a way. So yeah, I mean, that's a very good way of looking at it. Something that I also wanted to ask, just in terms of entrepreneurship, with you having a business for being an agency, also having the business within the actual food industry itself, I know that you're able to kind of see from a few different perspectives the different kinds of struggles or different kinds of things that pertain to entrepreneurship. So what would you say is some good advice that you could kind of give to somebody who's starting off? I know there's certain questions that might come to mind for them regarding either their capabilities or the trajectory of their career in that field. But what would you say, like, with regards to that?
Definitely don't give up at all.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you're going to have those bad days. Really outsource if you can. Don't, because it can be stressful doing everything as an entrepreneur. When you have to be the marketer, you have to be the graphic designer, you have to do a lot of things. So outsource if you can to give like lighten your load. And I would say just that consistency again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does. I feel like it resonates very well with the person. It's like, especially with like entrepreneurship itself. It's the idea of taking something you feel passionate about and turning it into something that you can share with other people. And there's definitely a lot of moments where a person might stumble in that pursuit. So I think it's very important to highlight what you just did. But like something that I'm also a little bit curious about is like you have your business here in two different, very important and very related industries. You know, it's that of representation and then that of the actual product itself. As far as your trajectory with it, where you kind of wish or see yourself being at in the future, what's that place look like for you?
Definitely a well known agency, but more well known off the results. I'm not big on, I just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
No, I want to keep the passion there, but eventually becoming like a one stop shop where you can get your digital marketing, you have your photo shoots over here for your brand. So as far as like branding and basically more of a brick and mortar type of deal.
Oh, okay. Well, you definitely sound like you have the expertise to go in that direction. So it's definitely good to hear that, for somebody who sees the importance and the personability of the food aspect and how that translates into the business world with, hey, I could represent a lot of people, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that everybody's being well represented.
Yes.
So it makes a lot of sense. And with that, I did want to also kind of ask, like, as far as future prospects, are there any kinds of business people or individuals that you see yourself either collabing with or consulting with when it comes to what it is that you're doing?
Definitely more towards the startups. I'm leaning towards the startups because I know they like the resources. A lot of startups, we like the funds as well. It's hard, especially when you don't want to go get a business loan or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like with that, that's when the marketing will come in, and because marketing is pretty expensive. Everybody doesn't have that $50,000 budget or something like that. So I lean more towards startups and helping them.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to ask was like, are there any kinds of businesses or individuals that come to mind within startups that, or kinds of people that come to mind when you think of startups that you would immediately be like, those are the kind of people that need to reach out to the services that I provide?
Definitely restaurants because I know tons of great restaurants. Nobody knows about them. And then that will come from my whole journey as doing the whole food thing and trying to figure out the marketing. Clothing brands. There's a lot of great clothing brands. Nobody knows about them. And I would say cosmetics as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it seems very interesting, just kind of this thing about like you have the dish that you focus on, which is the fusion tacos. You have your background, which seems to be very multicultural. But then you also have the outlook on how you look at business. It seems to come from this place to where you want this level of personability to still exist in the brand and with the people that you work with.
Yes.
But then there's also this aspect of professionalism and quality that you still want to be able to have like exist in the midst of all of that. So it seems very cool that it's like you get to be able to express that through food, but then it's also like you're trying to help people get to that themselves. So with that, I'm just going to conclude with a little bit more of a fun question. What is it that you would say first comes to mind as like your best memory when it comes to food?
Um, Being like 10, cooking for my whole family.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a big family. And then it's crazy, as I got older and to be an adult, I would overcook.
Oh, okay.
So probably that, as well as I have an aunt who used to travel a lot and she used to take me to different places. So she definitely expanded my palate as well.
Do you think any of those kinds of experiences kind of translated or served as kind of as a foundation for the way that you approach food now?
Yes.
Okay. Like in what ways do you think?
I have no limitations. I have no limitations. I can be as creative as I want, and that's what I like.
Oh, okay.
Put some AirPods on, be in my element in the kitchen, or I can just work with what I have in there. So the creativity, I can be as creative as I want.
All right. Well, that was Symone James, guys, here on the Open Mic podcast. Check her out. We'll leave her descriptions down below so you can see her on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, it's Hefe's Kitchen and Hefe & Co. So check it out, guys.